Welcome everybody. A warm welcome to all of you who are present here to attend the seminar. I welcome all of you on behalf of Pune branch of WRC of ICAI. Today we have gathered here to attend the virtual seminar on the discussion about the responding to the notices under section 131(1)(a) and 133(6) of Income Tax Act, including non-residents. I guess it's a very important topic, and really we are blessed to have today with us CA Vinod Jain sir. He's not only CA but he's CA, CS and CMA also. A warm welcome to you sir on behalf of Pune branch of ICAI. And also today we have with us CA Rajesh Agarwal sir, who is the Vice Chairman of Pune branch of ICAI. Rajesh sir, over to you for a welcome address.
Thank you, Sukanya. I first of all thank Vinod sir for accepting our invitation. I also thank our Central Council member Chitre sir for coordinating this important topic and having with us Vinod sir. I also welcome all the participants for joining this session. DTRC is a signature event of our Pune branch. I welcome all of you. I request Sukanya to please continue.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So let me introduce CA Vinod Jain, who is today's speaker for us. There is a lot more to talk about, sir, actually, because when he sent the profile, I read the profile, there is a lot more to talk about it. But due to time consent, let me brief you all about him. It gives me immense pleasure and honor to introduce CA Vinod Jain, sir. CA Vinod Jain, sir, is from New Delhi. He is a commerce graduate from Sri Ram College of Commerce in 1976 and passed LLB in 1979. He cleared his CA intermediate exam in November 1977 with rank 7th rank in All India Merit List. CA final examination in November 1979 with 13th rank on All India Merit List and become a fellow member of ICAI. He qualified in Company Secretary examination in December 1979. He is also qualified a cost accountant exam in year 1983 and become a fellow member of Institute of Cost Management, Cost Accountants of India. CA Vinod Jain has more than 40 years of experience in the field of capital market, taxation, audit, accounting, finance, banking, law, education, and strategic planning and business management. He started his career with Apollo Tyres Limited. He is a managing partner of Vinod Kumar and Associates, Chartered Accountants from February 1980 till the date. He has been a statutory auditor of different banks, insurance companies. He is also a chairman of Inmax Management Services Limited. He also served as a chairman, Board of Studies of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India from 2010 to 2011, being in charge and overall responsibility for chartered accountants education of about 1 million CA students in the country. He served as a chairman of Financial Market and Investors Protection Committee for 5 years, Professional Development Committee, Management Accounting Committee for 4 years, and Expert Advisory Committee of ICAI. He had also served as a member of Accounting Standard Board, Auditing and Assurance Standard Board, Public Finance Committee, Information Technology Committee, Insurance Committee, etc. He was a National Director of Certified Course on Forex, Risk and Treasury Management of ICAI from 2010 to 2013. These courses have been qualified by thousands of chartered accountants across the country. He has also served on different committees of CBDT, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and SEBI. Mr. Jain has been advisor to Honorable Prime Minister of India in direct taxes, GST, insolvency law, and corporate law. He conceptualized and designed faceless assessment under income tax law and supported PMO and CBDT, Ministry of Finance, in implementing the faceless assessment scheme in income tax. Shri Vinod Jain has bagged many awards and honors. Sir, it's really an honor for me to introduce you. And without taking any more time, I would like you to continue. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Sukanya ji. I like to address to Shri CA Rajesh Agarwal ji, Vice Chairman of the Pune branch, Sukanya ji, and of course, very, very importantly, all members of the Pune branch and other dignitaries and delegates who are attending this virtual webinar. I'm very glad to see that such a large number of members are taking interest in webinars, and I think Pune branch is regularly organizing these conferences. Thanks to CA Rajesh Agarwal as vice chairman. Of course, the chairman of the branch and other members of the managing committee also are actually equally thankful to them also for giving me this opportunity. Now, I think we are going to talk to each other first theoretically, then I think with later on with respect to case studies. First, I like to introduce this subject. I know people who are attending this topic, many of you might already be a tax expert. But for the sake of those people who are actually not that deeply read into the income tax law, but still they are either they or their clients are receiving notices under section 131(1)(a) or section 133(6) in respect of Indian SSCs or non-resident SSCs, and I think in respect of black money law, also in respect to the income tax law, would be definitely be interested to know this subject at least broadly. So now, look, putting the whole thing into the perspective, I think we'll go to the next slide. It is not moving to the next slide. Just a minute here. You see, plain reading of section 131(1)(a), of course, I think there's no, I've just presented it to your purpose. I don't want to go and read this for you. 133(1)(1)(a) section is in any case before you. You know, these are broadly the structure of the income tax law, various organs of income tax law, which actually issued notices under section 131(1)(a). I think when we see primarily the investigation wing, consisting of Director General Income Tax, and of course, interfacing with the SSCs, normally Assistant Director or Deputy Director Income Tax, primarily from the investigation wing, are regularly issuing notices under section 131(1)(a). Whereas the other people who are AD, DDs or traditional CIT or JC or ITO, they will possibly be issuing notices when it comes to their powers in terms of section 132. I think that also will deal separately. Now, coming to the limbs, various limbs of section 131(1)(a), I would like to say that when can an officer issue these notices? Who can issue? I think we have already said that primarily, I think that also will come. When an officer has reason to suspect, he should have some reason to suspect that the concerned SSC has concealed any income or is likely to conceal any income. So in both the circumstances where he has some reason to believe or reason to suspect, reason to believe is not necessary, reason to suspect is necessary. When he has reason to suspect that he has concealed some income or is likely to conceal any income, then I think there are powers which are vested into the income tax officer to issue you a notice under section 131(1). And when these powers have been given under section 131(1)(a), additional powers have been given to the income tax officers concerned in terms of civil procedure code. In terms of civil procedure code, the various powers which are vested in a civil code have also been extended to the income tax officer. What are these powers? They can discover and inspect the documents and records. They can also enforce the attendance of any person. They can actually enforce that, the person to whom they really want to ask and give them a statement can be, his personal attendance can be enforced. And also he can be examined on oath. That of course, examination on oath will happen under section 131. But I think examination on oath powers comes from the powers which are vested in the code under civil procedure code. Then compiling the production books of accounts. If, he can also compel you to produce books of accounts and various other documents as may be specified in his notice, or during your examination, he can ask you to furnish additional documents also, or he can issue commissions. What is issuing commissions? Issuing commissions, he can actually depute his inspectors or other officials, or maybe some special expert to actually examine your books of accounts, or maybe to examine your premises or examine your assets, or anything he can do, depending on to actually satisfy himself that whether the suspicion which he had that you are going to conceal income or you have already concealed the income, whether it is correct or incorrect. It enables, these sections enables, these powers enable the authorities to conduct an inquiry and to collect evidence in support of their contention. So these are primarily, suppose somebody may say, If I don't go, what happens? If you don't go, and if he issue a notice for you for coming either in person or through authorized representative, I think that part we'll discuss. Then, beside other thing, beside the penal powers which we are going to actually discuss, it can really lead to issue of police warrant in case of non-compliance. That means he can also refer the matter to the police authorities and ask the police that this man I have been calling, he is not coming. So it is not only that he can actually impose penalties on you, but also he can actually physically ensure that the police that a notice is served to you through police, and the police is able to enforce that you actually attend his office. That power, of course, is not normally exercised, because most of the SSCs or their authorized representative actually respond to the notices. But in some rare instances, these powers can also be exercised, because these powers are vested in him as a civil court. Now, if there are no other proceedings pending with respect to SSC, can notices under section 131(1)(a) can be issued? This is a question which comes to my mind. Arey bhai, notice mere paas kyun aa gaya? There is no proceeding which is pending against me. Why the officer is sending me notices? So answer to this is, of course, we'll be discussing with reference to case studies, why these notices are coming and when these notices are likely to come to you. All those aspects we are actually going to discuss in detail, one by one, slowly, because we are going to the subject briefly and slowly. The officer can inquire or investigate, notwithstanding that no proceedings with respect to such person or class of persons are pending before the officer or any other income tax authority. The notice under section 131(1)(a) can be issued even if there is no proceedings pending. That means such notices can be issued to a person. It can also be issued to a class of persons, but it is not necessary that any proceedings are pending. So even if there are no proceedings which are pending, so what is required, we have just studied. What is required is he should have a reason to suspect that there is a concealment of income or there is likelihood of concealment of income. It is only in these two circumstances he is not actually required to share with you those reasons, but he should have the reasons to suspect. And those reasons to suspect, of course, will be internally recorded in its confidentially in his own files, to satisfy his own system, that he can issue while he is issuing a notice under section 131(1)(a), because he is also under supervision of his senior officers. Now, the history of section 131(1)(a) actually goes like this. It was introduced somewhere in 1st October 1975 with effect from 1st October 1975. Of course, now already about 47, 48 years have gone. But before this, there was only one section known as section 131(1). But 131(1)(a) was introduced to empower officers of the investigation wing, also to include sometime officers who are authorized to carry out search operations. That part, of course, we'll discuss separately, to exercise the power mentioned in section 131(1). So why these powers were introduced? Because earlier section 131, as it was there, the power to issue summons under section 131 was only limited when a particular matter is pending, assessment is pending, or some other proceedings under the law, under the income tax law is going on. Only in that case, section 131 notices could have been given. But when in a case in Union of India versus Gopal Das Gupta, this case was held by the Calcutta High Court, where the Calcutta High Court said the investigation wing had no power to issue section 131 because they have no powers to record statement, or they have no powers to even issue a notice under section 131, as no assessment proceedings are pending. So to come over this problem, the Government of India introduced section 131(1)(a) and empowered the investigation wing. This investigation wing notices have become now, of course, become very, very active. It never used to be that active earlier. Although this has come in October 1975, but these powers are very sparingly used. Now we see the current scenario has completely undergone a major shift. What we have really observing, the normal assessment, the scrutiny assessments have gone down substantially as compared to the last year or even year before last. In this year, there is a very substantial reduction in scrutinies. That way, under section 143(3) or read with section 142, notices are less. That means whatever returns you file, for that purpose, section appropriate notices for assessment are lesser in number. But section 131(1)(a) notices have become very large in number, And I think we'll also going to discuss section 133.6. Either a notice is coming in 133.6 or coming in 131.1a. Why these notices are coming? I think all of us have been wondering why these notices have been coming. The answer lies in the database which the tax department over last few years have, you can say, have not only enlarged, but technically they have also become very solid. And artificial intelligence as well as machine language, machine learning has actually enabled the department to bring out all those exceptional cases where there could be reason to suspect that there could be a concealment of income, or there could be a or there is already a concealment of income. There could be, or there is already, there is likely to be, or there is already. I think in all those cases, wherever they feel, based on the data in their position, how, which kind of data is coming to them. For example, they are having data which all of us can see under 26 AS. There's a list of various transactions with the SSE has conducted with various parties, and correspondingly tax has been deducted at source. Similarly, rising out the annual information return and various other information being furnished by the SSAs in with reference to the income tax law various requirements. Correspondingly, information is getting created for examination as to whether the concerned person with whom you have done the transaction, whether he is actually filing an income tax return. If not filing income tax return, then why he is not filing a return? Or even if he is filing a return, he is doing large transactions, but his return is not commensurate to the size of the transaction. For example, in a very large number of cases, we found when the notices started coming for section 133.6 or section 131.1a, that, for example, SSE has done a couple of, or maybe even a single material property transaction, either has purchased the property or he has sold a property. I think, and when the assessing officer through artificial intelligence, the department has run it on the AI, then based on this artificial intelligence report, they could really see that this person either do not have adequate means, is showing only a very small income and is buying properties in crores of rupees, or is selling properties in crores of rupees, or if that is for the current year, and in preceding years also he has possibly done some property transactions, but he has not shown income from capital gain and maybe all other related disclosures which are necessary, through which one can really know whether he has done these transactions, we have not done this transaction. So accordingly, in all those cases, there is a trigger which may happen wherever there is a suspicion, in the department, in the mind of the income tax department, and that is not done by the income tax officer who is issuing a notice. That department is separately running. There is a very large system of artificial intelligence which is running this programs for identifying those cases where there could be a suspicion. So based on that suspicion, I think the notices are coming. Similarly, of course, on the people who are living outside India, or those people who are regularly traveling outside India, or people who have set up companies or different businesses outside India, or for those people who have set up trust, or maybe who have set up, who are authorized signatories in a bank, or who are trustees for trust outside India, or who are beneficiaries of trust outside India. There are large number of information which is coming to the government of India through exchange of information. We are aware that the government of India has signed exchange of information protocol with a very large number of countries. I think more than 100 countries already government of India has signed exchange of information protocol. And suppose a resident Indian or maybe an Indian citizen, both of them are covered, maybe either a resident or an Indian citizen, primarily, a person resident in India, maybe citizen of India or non-citizen of India, and a person who is a citizen of India. In respect of both, the information comes from various parts of the world. For example, there is a bank account getting operated in Mauritius, or maybe in UK, or in Switzerland, or in USA. I think information will come to the tax department. Yes, there is a bank account. And I think not only bank account information, the size of operations in that bank account also comes to their notice. If there are any buying and selling of securities which have been done, or there are some properties which have been purchased or sold, or wherever there is somebody is, or if somebody is a trustee and he is a beneficiary in a trust. So if a bank account, the details of bank account comes, then not only the details of the account holders are coming, it is also sharing with the information with the Indian authorities about who are the beneficiaries. So you will see a very large number of people who have set up trust in India or outside India, or have set up primarily, the trust. I'm talking now, of course, people outside India. Suppose you have set up a trust outside India, or you are a beneficiary of a trust outside India, or you are a trustee of a trust outside India, or you are a signatory in any bank account outside India, or there is a bank account in your name. In all such cases, the information is coming to Indian government, and government of India is actually matching that information with the disclosure which have been made by the SSC in Schedule FA. So if in Schedule FA or and various the fixed assets and assets outside India, plus I think the information in respect of bank account outside India, information in respect of trust outside India, and various other information are mandated now for all resident in India to disclose. If you have not disclosed that information, in that case, they can possibly try and inquire from you. They may have a suspicion in that case whether there is a income which is concealed from taxation, you're concealed, or you're likely to conceal from taxation. I think when we deal with case studies, we'll discuss this matter in greater detail further. But now let us talk of I think we have completed on the history of the. Now I think there is one more area, as I told you, normally whenever there is a search operation under section 132, whenever there is a search operation before the commencement of the search, it is a matter of routine duty of the officers concerned to record preliminary statement of the concerned SSC before they commence the search. That means they will ask you to disclose various things once they come to your premises as to what all assets you have, whether there's any cash which is there available with you, what kind of jewelry is there, what kind of other assets you own, etc. So they will issue a notice under section 131(1)(a) and record your statement in terms of section 131(1). So once they will under oath, and on that basis, it is only after studying that statement they will actually commence the detailed search operations. So I think that is a standard procedure for which also empowerment has been given under section 131(1)(a). Now, I think I'll also like to deal very, very briefly on section 131(1), because they are co-related sections, and once a notice under section 131(1)(a) is issued, then statement is invariably, not in all cases, but in some wherever he feel necessary, they actually issue a notice and under 131(1)(a) and record a statement under section 131 of the concerned SSC. Now if we see the language of section 131(1), which is in front of us, this is primarily section was actually introduced the assessing officer, for the deputy commissioner, for the joint commissioners, commissioner appeals, and principal chief commissioner and chief commissioner and principal commissioner to issue a notice under section 131(1). Now, what do we do under section 131(1)? It empowers the jurisdictional assessing officer to issue summons. And 131(1)(a), as we have talked to, it empowers the officers of the investigation wing to issue summons. Powers under section 131(1) can be exercised by the assessing officers only when any proceedings are pending before him in relation to the SSC. That means the assessing officers cannot exercise these powers under section 131(1) till the time there are any proceedings which are pending. So they cannot issue a notice under section 131 just like that. Just because you are in jurisdiction, one fine morning he cannot issue you a notice. Okay, why don't you come and discuss that I have a suspicion that you have no income, your income is escape tax, etc. And whereas powers under section 131(1)(a) can be exercised, notwithstanding that no proceedings is pending before investigating officers. So I think this is a great distinction which is there. Section 131(1) only when the proceedings are pending. Section 131(1)(a), when there is no proceedings are pending, who is entitled to do? Not the assessing officers. It is to done by the investigation team, by the investigating officers. Now, I think we'll briefly talk about section 131(3) also, which is relevant in this case. The books of accounts and documents which he will ask you to produce Once you produce books, accounts and documents during the proceedings, and he feels it necessary that he will need them, or he has apprehension that you may not actually destroy the evidence, or you may not actually manipulate the evidence. In all such cases, he may impound and retain in his custody for a period as the officer think fit, except assessing officer, AD or deputy director. I think they do not have such powers to actually retain books of accounts and documents. And I think AO, AD and DD has to either record the reasons for impounding or retaining the document, or retain the document for more than 15 days only after approval of the very senior officers. I think the officers have been listed. Only with their approval in writing, only then they can actually retain it beyond 15 days. So 15 din tak to AO, AD and DD, after recording the reasons, they can always retain this, the assessing office. So in custody for a period of office as the officer may think fit. Like in these junior officers, the senior officers can do it for even for a larger period. But if these three levels of junior people are doing it and they want to do it beyond 15 days, then they have to take approval of the senior officers. Now, consequence of not responding to a notice. Suppose you don't respond. I think that is what we are talking about. Consequence of not producing the document or not attending the office of the officer by the date and time as mentioned in the notice. A penalty of Indian rupees 10 up to Indian rupees 10,000. I think they don't use the word up to, they straight away go and impose 10,000 rupees, may be imposed upon the SSC under section 272A bracket may 1 bracket may C of the Income Tax Act for each such default. You see, I think this word each such default is very necessary. If he has issued you multiple notices, for every notice there can be a separate penalty, even if he is calling you with reference to the same income. So each such default of failure to attend and give evidence or produce the books of accounts or documents before the officer. Although practically speaking, officer will wait for issuing you multiple notices and then issuing you penalty notice and then levying penalty on you. After 1 or 2 or 3 notices, if you don't respond, then of course he has powers to actually seek attendance, forcefully seek attendance with the help of the police. But even before we do that, alternatively, what he can do based on reason to believe, the reason to suspect may become reason to believe in mind that this man is not coming there. It is not, his suspicion may go to belief that I invited him, but he's not coming. So if he's not coming, then he's definitely going to actually not only conceal the income, but is going to destroy the evidence also. So then what he can do is if he has that apprehension, then he can straight away issue a search notice and go take necessary approval, do internal processing, and maybe if necessary, he can do a Reiki. I think the normal procedure they will undertake and then may initiate a search against the SSC in case it is a material amount or a material suspicion. Wherever his suspicion is not so strong that he's not becoming completely reason to believe, he is still in suspicion or in reason to believe or somewhere in between, then he can refer this matter to investigation wing. The investigation wing can refer this matter to appropriate authorities so that the case of the concerned SSC can be picked up for scrutiny assessment or in case of for reassessment in case of section 147, 148. Just to explain this a little bit more. Suppose there is a property deed transaction you have done, say for 2 crores. You have sold a property and there is no disclosure in your books of accounts. And the investigation wing actually issue a notice and you just don't appear. He sent you another notice, you don't appear. He try and send his inspector, nobody is found on that address, or they refuse to meet him, or they somehow they avoid him. Then what he will do? He can straight away feel that there is just 2 crore transaction you're not included in your return. That's why you're running, and he can refer that this case should be. Then of course he has always access to what returns he have filed. He will examine there and see. In case he found that such transaction has not been reflected by you in the your relevant income tax return of the relevant previous year, then he can always refer this matter to appropriate authority so that your case can be picked up for assessment. And in case the assessment period is over and it becomes necessary to issue a notice under section 147 read with 148, then I think appropriate notices will be issued for reassessment under section 147 read with 148. provided of course the limitation period is not expired of the for the relevant thing. We are aware of the various limits which are there, that up to rupees 50 lakhs you can go for 147, 148 for 3 assessment years, including excluding the current assessment year, and otherwise you can go up to 10 years if it is more than 50 lakhs. Of course, for some period, 10 years may not apply because this is a prospective thing. Earlier, the limit was 6 years. So wherever in earlier provision it could not be opened, it will not be opened even in the current provision. But for future, it has become the limit has become 10 years. Now, section 133(6), of course, this is just like that. I presented before you. I'm not asking you to really read section 133(6). 133(6) can be, let us try and understand this section. This is a section, anybody, I think, there are very large number of authorities which you'll see are entitled to issue notice in the section 133(6). AO, DC, JC, DJ, I think I'm not going to read. The officers below the rank of PCIT, CIT, etc. In case of an inquiry where no proceeding is pending, may be issued notice only after approval of Principal Director of Income Tax, Director of Income Tax, or PCIT or CIT. Whereas the Joint Director, the Assistant Director, and Deputy Director can issue the notices even if no inquiry is pending. So section 133 bracket में 6, notice can be issued by the officers, even the junior officers of the investigation wing, even if there is no proceeding which is pending. In a very large number of cases, wherever they need only information, they don't want your personal attendance, they need only information, they are issuing notices under section 133 bracket में 6. And after examining the information provided by you, suppose it comes to they have a reason to suspect that you have either concealed income or you're likely to conceal income, and they want to consolidate their evidence, then they can issue you 133 section can be followed by 131(1)(a), or it can follow with any other proceedings as the officer may determine on case-to-case basis. Now, when can an officer issue a notice under section 133 bracket 6? It can require any person to furnish information in relation to the matters specified by him, to furnish statement of account and affairs. Suppose, for example, he is doing assessment of Mr. A, and Mr. A has done some transactions with B, C, D, etc., and he needs to confirm this whether actually that transactions have been done in BCD or whether how BCD has recorded in their books of account. Then the officer can issue a notice to B, C, and D, all of them, maybe to debtors, maybe to creditors, maybe to all other people with whom the material transaction has been done. He can issue notices under section 133(6), seeking information, maybe statement of account or extract from their books of accounts or details of the transactions, anything it can ask, which will be useful or relevant to any inquiry or proceedings. So देखिए दो चीजें अलग-अलग हैं. We see relevant to any inquiry or relevant to any proceedings. Wherever there is a proceeding going on, then of course, relevant to that proceedings, he can require any person to furnish information in relation to a matter or furnish statement of account and affairs. Whereas the inquiry comes when, the 133(6) comes from a investigating officer or an inquiry officer. In that case, what he is looking for based on some information in his command, he sees some inconsistency in your data, or he see that he want to actually verify whether verify the facts, then he can write to you in terms of section 133 bracket 6 that you can actually, why don't you give the information? What are the power with the officer which can be exercised by the officer in section 133(6)? The officer may call from any person, even if there is no proceedings which are pending, wherever they are entitled to issue this notice, any information or any document or statement of account and statement of affairs or any other information that can be useful in the proceedings in relation to information on matters or on points. That means he will specify either matters or the points or the list of what all he needs. Sometimes that may list be very long. How to handle this, I think we are going to discuss as we move further. So if we see clearly that 133(6) is something which is available with the tax department to garner information from the SSCs when the assessment proceeding is going on. The SSCs means SSCs, the parties with whom SSC is dealing, because SSC is already in front of him, so that he don't need to issue 133(6). Normal course in proceeding which is going on, he can always ask for the information to the SSC through the income tax portal itself. But other persons who are connected with that proceedings or that inquiry, I think notices under section 133(6) can be issued. If there is no other proceedings pending with respect to SSC, can a notice under section 133(6) be issued? Yes, notice under section 133(6) may be issued even if there is no proceedings which is pending with respect to the SSC. So when there is no proceedings pending, even in those cases, a notice can be issued for seeking information from the SSC under section 133(6). Now 133(6) has become very, very regular actually. A large number of cases are coming. Now suppose you don't respond to a notice. What happens? What are the consequences of not filing the response? You say there's a mild penalty which they have kept, but penalty is not so mild. It says a penalty of Indian rupees 500 may be imposed upon the SSC under section 272A, subbracket 2, subbracket 2C of the Income Tax Act for every day during which the failure continues. Now, what do you really mean by every day during which the failure continues? Suppose he has sent you a notice that, okay, why don't you furnish me this information by 28th February, and you fail to furnish that information. So whether from 1st of March this meter will start, I think let us see. Let us examine it. Normally what is done? Normally suppose by 28th February you not send them a notice. Then after waiting for a few more days, he will issue another notice. And suppose you don't respond to the second notice also. Then he may actually issue you a penalty notice that, okay, gentlemen, I issued you a notice, say on 15th of January or say on 15th of February to furnish me information by 28th February, but you have not furnished that information. So from the due date of the notice, that is 28th February, from that date till the date you actually furnish the information, maybe suppose you take 2 months or 3 months of furnishing the information, or the second notice itself comes after 2 months, then and even then you fail to furnish, then not only for this intervening period for 2 months, but also for the period thereafter also, a penalty can be levied on. I'll give you an example. Like it happens in case of a large exporter. He was getting a very large amount of job work done from several job workers. Now this gentleman, the income tax officer, while he was making assessment, he thought, why not to directly confirm from the concerned job workers as to what kind of work they have been doing, whether they have actually done that work, whether those invoices issued by them are genuine, whether those invoices have been accounted for properly, whether payment has been made by the SSC. I think all those issues he wanted to confirm. So he issued notices to say some select 8-10 job workers. Out of 8-10 job workers, 3-4 job workers decided not to respond. Now they did not respond to the notice. Balance, of course, people have responded. So there is no issue about those people who responded to the notice. Then after waiting for about 15 days, he again issued a notice to those people who have failed to respond, actually. Then even then they did not respond. Then after about 3 months, he issued them a penalty notice. And for the 3 months period, plus the period from the first date of notice, he issued them a penalty notice at the rate of 500 rupees. So about four months have elapsed. For about 120 days at the rate of 500 rupees, a 60,000 rupees penalty notice was served on them. Now against this, not only it was served, it was imposed also. So this SSC went for appeal before the CIT appeal, and then ultimately had to go to ITAT because CIT decided not to actually interfere into the matter. Now before the Income Tax Appellate Tribunal, although there was no proper justification as such for not responding to the notices, and ultimately these job workers had to give information to the officers concerned. But in the meanwhile, this penalty had already been imposed on them. So the authorized representative, he looked into the first notice, and one thing which he realized, that this is the actual case, one thing he realized, that on the notice, there is nowhere it is written that this notice has been issued under section 133(6). He just issued a notice asking for information, but he has failed to mention section 133(6). So the authorized representative, the chartered accountant, went to the Honorable ITAT and said, gentlemen, of course, I wanted to actually make other points. But I think first and foremost, basic point I want to really raise before you, your lordship, is that this notice has not been issued under section 133(6). There is no mention on the notice, on the first notice itself, whether this notice is under section 133(6). Not even on the second notice it is there, that is under 133(6). So there is nothing is mentioned in which section the officer concerned is issuing notices. And when he is issuing notices without even mentioning the section, this penalty cannot be imposed. And Honorable ITAT actually held it in favor of the SSC that since under section 133(6), if the notices are to be issued, or if the notices are issued under section 131(1)(a), now the judicial pronouncement is very clear that it has to be specifically said under which section you are actually issuing this notice. There is one more thing which has come through instructions, all of us are aware that now there is a DIN number, that is the document identification number, which is a consecutive serial number generated by the system, has to be actually forming part of every single notice, every single communication from the tax department. So in case you have received a notice under section 133(6) or a notice under section 131(1)(a) on which DIN number is not there, or for example that notice is not signed by the officer concerned, or there could be some similar defect, I think that is a fit case for ensuring that there is no reason for you to really respond to such notices. That might be somebody miscreant with some ulterior motives, trying to really issue notices without even giving a DIN number actually. Now, how do you respond to these notices? I think you have examined the notices. The notices are there. I think we'll look into the case studies also. But before we actually go to the case studies, we'll have a generic view of how do you actually, what should be the content of communication with the department? Kaise likhe, kya likhe? So, kya cheez dhyan rakhein? So, I think the first point is necessary facts in relation to the question. The word necessary is very important here. No unnecessary facts. It is very important. That is where, it is an art. It is not a science actually. And it comes from experience that what are the unnecessary facts. So any fact which can arouse further suspicion is an unnecessary fact. So you have to give only necessary fact, to the point. Just read his questions once, twice, thrice, 4 times, and only address to his question in a pointed manner. Don't go outside. If he is asking about a particular matter, then nothing related to that which he has not asked, you need to give actually. You need to give only to the extent he is asking, only to the extent. But kindly note, don't give evasive answers. Don't give evasive answers that I'm not aware, I do not remember. That kind of answers is not going to work. You better to submit only after confirmation of facts. So you can always say that suppose you go and present yourself under section 131(1)(a), the officer concerned is asking you a question, then you can't say, no, I don't remember. I don't remember, it is all right. You have to definitely say, sir, you are asking this question, let me note down. Let me verify with respect to relevant documents, facts, and I'll come back to you and submit to you. So cases where you feel uncomfortable about a situation of fact or about any matter, better to submit only after confirmation of fact. Because it is impossible for anybody, neither the SSC nor for the authorized representative, to actually remember the facts. And when you actually analyze properly after you come back from his office, or after you examine if he has already elaborated what all he's asking, in that case, after examination of records concerned, you have to really see what are the facts which you are supposed to submit those facts. Ensure precise and accurate matters to be reported there. So I think it is very important because this response to your notice, you are responsible for your answer. So you can't give any irresponsible answer. You have to be precise, you have to be accurate, but that does not mean that you give something which is not asked for. So because try and see and avoid those matters, where it can bring problems to you. I think how you are going to save that I'm going to come later in the later slides, how the Indian Constitution has given you certain protection in this regard. And ensure precise and accurate. Do not submit facts which are not relevant. Irrelevant facts you should not submit. Information or documents which are not asked for should not submit. In case you require to submit statement of account or books of account extract, suppose he asks you, why don't you give me extract of books of accounts or a statement of account, then it becomes very important for the authorized representative the accountant of the SSC, as well as the SSC himself, to carefully examine the narrations. Sometimes the narration is in such a direction or in such a way it is drafted that it can give very, very wrong message to the officer concerned. So it is important to very carefully, just like that, he asked you books of accounts, you just send him books of account extract without even examination, you are bound to get into trouble, because there could be some remarks which are there in the journals or in the vouchers, or which has come appearing in the ledger, and which may really give unnecessary food for thought or unnecessary suspicion to the officer concerned, more suspicion, or maybe reason to believe also he can have. When the officer demand very large information, sometimes officers will ask you a fortune. Sub le aao. You bring last 5 years books of accounts, bank statements, and everything, including vouchers, purchase voucher, sale voucher, expense voucher, everything you bring. He may give you a very, very long list. That why don't you bring? Then I think it may be necessary for the authorized representative to actually give him a broad information and then request him, sir, this is very voluminous, and we can't give you such a big volume. It may be a truckload, or it may be not a truckload. It may be a mini tempo load, or it may be a huge such a huge information that you will not be able to actually assimilate this. How do I bring so much information? Sir, I'm ready to give information in respect to the sample, which can be selected by the officer. Once you give him a, for example, suppose he's asking you, give me statement of account of all your debtors. Then possibly what you can do is, sir, I can give you a list of maybe all debtors which are above a particular size. And from that list, you can, sir, possibly select which debtor statement you are really looking for. So we'll give you the sample you want. And you can also specify as the size. कि भाई 5 लाख से ऊपर का debtor है, 10 लाख से ऊपर का debtor है, or 1 lakh rupees से ऊपर का debtor है. Whatever you want to give, similarly creditors. Accordingly, once he specify a size, then of course we'll give him a list, and then on list he can mark, and then we can give specific information to them. And in case if he in that one statement of account is there, you want any specific information about any particular voucher or any particular transaction, sometimes he may specify with those debtors with which you had transactions of more than rupees 5 lakhs, only give them. Like that, he can have a criteria. So that depends on your talking with the officer concerned as to how you can reduce your sample size. Because once you are able to reduce your sample size, I think your job is actually quite significantly done. But in case you have want to submit entire information, nobody is stopping you. You can give him a truckload and let him be lost in the truckload. Some people may even take that strategy. Now, contents of communication with the department, but I think giving too much information is generally fatal, not in the interest of the SSC, nor in the interest of the authorized representative, because if your SSC is going to consult other chartered accountants, they're going to tell them why your CA is asking to give so much information where only sample can be given. Obviously, the officer will agree with the sample, because officer ke liye bhi it is impossible to actually, you can say, examine everything. So contents of communication of the department, explaining situations or perspective to the assessing officer. Usko explain kariye perspective ko, situation ko to the assessing officer. Kaise kare? In case of certain allegation in the questionnaire, there could be certain allegation. Allegations means he may specify like this has been done, and I have reason where. So it will be important to deny each allegation. Suppose he is creating an allegation, it is important to actually deny each and every allegation specifically. And or otherwise you can say all allegations are denied in case you want to deny all of them. Facts supporting your stand may be assimilated, ikhatta kariye unhe, and provide them after proper examination. So deny allegations, because if you're going to accept allegations, then you are in any case in problem. So you have to deny allegations. Wherever you think, yes, there is a need to give in, you can go to your authorized representative and see. In case you are able to find from your records that there is a likelihood of some income which has escaped your attention to be disclosed in the income tax return, then it may be worth either revising return of income if the time is there, or if the return is yet to be filed, then include this in your return of income or in books of accounts in the transaction and give necessary details. But in case the time for revising of return has already gone, it may be appropriate for you to actually there is an additional window which is there for last 2 years for actually paying some additional tax, and still revise your file a revised return. That also you can do by paying the additional 25% tax in 1 year and to 50% tax in 2 years. That is another option which you have. Or alternatively, suppose you are not able to exercise that option, then best would be at least pay tax as well as interest on that amount up to date, so that whenever that comes for final scrutiny on 148 notice is issued, or it comes to scrutiny, in that case, there could be if tax is already paid, then the amount of penalty, amount of interest which can be levied on you could be much lower. And in most of the cases, it should be possible for you to convince the officers concerned that since tax was already paid, you realize later, and you voluntarily paid tax, penalty should not be levied. And I think our experience tells us that in most of the cases, it has become possible to convince to the officer, yes, penalty should not be levied, and if he has already paid tax and interest both. Now, in case a request is made based on apprehension, it is important to deny each apprehension on actual facts and knowledge. You have to actually go deeper into the facts as the authorized representative, understand from the SSC, and then based on that understanding, you help the SSC concerned to deny those apprehensions or to take care of those apprehensions. No attempt need to be made to give detailed explanation about stories. Unnecessarily don't write long stories. That happened, this happened, and the things like. Be to the point. Do not offer inspection or deputation of commission in the spirit to impress the officer. This has happened in my practical experience also few times, that the concerned SSC sometimes in a spree just to win over the assessing officer when he goes for 131 examination or 131 1A examination, or even when the scrutiny was happening on face-to-face basis. In those cases, sometimes the assessing officer, sometimes the SSCs, when he's with you, he just to impress the officer, he may come and tell, sir, hamara sab theek hai, everything is all right. If you want, you can really send your team and inspect it. You can send your inspector. In several cases, we have seen, as soon as you make this suggestion, the officer will jump on it, and he will straight away depute a commissioner or the income tax inspector, and then of course, not only they will not give you adequate time to actually assemble the information in a proper manner, but also sometimes on the ground, there could be some information which is much beyond the information which you are looking, and you can be in trouble. And of course, there is necessary pressure from the income tax officials of all kind can be there to bother you. So please avoid this. Situations of perspective shall be mentioned with specific subheadings. Whatever you are replying, just don't straight away write, paragraphs after paragraphs after paragraphs. It should be properly, heading should be given, properly subheading should be given, so that the officer concerned is able to understand what you're saying. Any attempt to try and confuse him will only create further suspicion in his mind, actually. So alternative claims, wherever there are various alternatives, I think in different situations, they can be explained. Raising legal issues, point of law before the assessing officer. Sometime when you actually, your particular case is already covered by some legal point. For example, it is already time barred. You can always tell them, sir, this information relates to a period which is possibly already time barred. So you're requested to kindly, relevant record is not available with me. You don't have to say anything more than this, that it is difficult for me to really get old records. And I think, or similarly, there could be other legal, you can say, support, which your arguments at this stage itself can say that why a particular situation which you have undertaken, what a particular stand you have undertaken is correct, and how you can convince the officer that there is no escapement of income, and there is no concealment of income, and there is no likelihood of any concealment of income, because everything what you've done in accordance with law. I already explained to you, in case you come to the conclusion along with your authorized representative that there is an error which has been done, or by mistake or whatever reason the income has been left out, or some income which has come to the notice of the department which the SSC has not disclosed, even if willfully he has not disclosed, it will be worth for you to immediately pay taxes and interest on that, because that investigation and other process will take time to really culminate into proper assessment and reassessment proceedings. And I think by the time it should be possible for you to save some interest at least, and penalty also. In any case, tax, whatever you consider is necessary or whatever is reasonable tax, in any case, it may be worthwhile for you to pay, actually. Now, while drafting your response, of course, I don't have to tell my people this, but still, some people ensure proper grammar and language. If you don't want to write in English, you can write in the local language. You can write in Marathi, you can write in Hindi, you can write in any other language or in Gujarati, whatever language you are actually comfortable, you can answer. It is not necessary for you to actually give answers in English alone, because all these languages in which I am mentioning to you, they're all duly recognized by the Constitution. You can always answer in whatever language you really want. Be concise, use short sentences, don't write long sentences because long sentences are wrongly understood. Ensure important points are not overlooked. Ensure that important points are actually even either given in bold, or maybe they are underlined, or they are given in a different color when you are actually uploading it, because 133.6, all replies will go actually electronically only. I think that we'll come to. Ensure that annexures attached are properly numbered and mentioned in the reply. In the reply, the annexion numbers are mentioned, and not only annexion numbers. I think this point I want to really make a little bit in detail. Is then when you are actually writing about annexures, sometimes annexures are too big, too huge, and it may contain multiple pages. It may contain multiple volumes. So it is necessary that whatever you enclose, there is a continuous page numbering which is done of the entire set. And once you've done the continuous page numbering of the entire set, the main points, main pages, or main thing which you want assessing officer must see, those page numbers should be actually cross-referenced on your main reply also, so that whenever you want to take officer to a particular bank transaction, which you have enclosed at page number 446, then you say, kindly see on page number 446, Punjab National Bank statement of dated such and such. This transaction is appearing, which will satisfy you that this money has actually come from such and such source. For example, it is like this. So I think this will help you significantly. So ensure that page numbering is done with cross-referencing in the main reply of the annexure attached is concise and properly done. I think if you have done this working properly, where you have drafted your reply properly, I think more than 75% of your battle is won, actually. Sometimes even 100% in case your facts are also concrete. So अगर आप reply अच्छे से देंगे, properly number करके देंगे, consecutively उनके annexures को देंगे, consecutive number होगा, number की cross reference होगी, so at least जो बात आप कहना चाहते हैं, whatever you really want to say, it actually goes into his mind. But one thing we should actually really see, now personal interactions are much lesser, whether it is 131(1)(a) or whether it is 131 notices, because most of the officers want now, in terms of the instructions given to them, 133.6, in any case, it has to be electronically uploaded. But even 133, 131(1)(a) notices reply also is normally, the officer, you can actually send him that reply electronically, and then you can ask him whether he need any more information. And I think in case he need information, he can tell you either verbally or electronically, and then accordingly you can give, or when you go and visit him, then also he may give you additional thing. But for every submission, you need not go to him. So it is very necessary that each one of us develop good writing skill, because those times of appearing again and again bring not only a lot of harassment, but also a lot of pressure on the mind of the SSCs as well as on the authorized representative chartered accountants also, to let us avoid this. I think this last bullet which I'm mentioning about the last of this slide, there are of course a lot of slides still. The duplicate set of written response along with annexures and attached must be kept with you for future reference, so that for future reference it becomes necessary. I think we will go in for about 5 minutes break after the slides. I think we'll have 5-7 minutes break and then we'll resume again. I want to, before I give you a recess, I like to say nobody can be forced to give evidence against himself. That is Article 20, bracket में 3 of the Constitution of India provides, no person accused of any offense shall be compelled to be witness against himself. So somebody may say that this is a civil law. Income tax law is a civil law. No, Mr. Jain, Article 20, bracket में 3 will actually not apply. Will not apply. That I think the officer is going to tell you. So you have to tell him, sir, with this information I cannot give you. Suppose it is something like that. You remember recently, even the American Prime Minister, the immediately past president of USA, he has taken that plea before the honorable court that I am not ready to provide this information because this information can be used against me, and I'm not ready to actually provide this information. So it is in every democratic country, this right is there, which is given to the subjects, that they cannot be forced to give evidence based on which they can be prosecuted or they can be penalized. Penalty as well as prosecution, both are criminal actions. The collection of tax might be a civil work, but when it comes to penalty and prosecution, it becomes ultimately a criminal offense. It becomes an offense for which you are being penalized or you are being punished. We are aware that investigation wing, the new name is, of course, when you read in Hindi or whether you read in English, it is talking of criminal offense wing. I think it is that is something like that. Criminal, I don't remember exactly, but I think the word criminal is there in the name of the department itself. So that is very clearly you can tell him that you cannot force me or my SSC to provide this particular information. This is not, we cannot really provide you. And I think fundamental rights are there. He may do whatever, but in case giving any particular information can harm you, it is better not to give that information. But this is a difficult thing. It is not such easy to take this decision. You have to take this decision very carefully because the officer may become offensive. So you have to explain him, sir, this is not within my means. I cannot give you this information. Beside this information, whatever you ask, I'm always there. I'm always there to provide you information. If you want, you can approach a lawyer and you can give him a legal reply or approach a good chartered accountant. He'll write a suitable reply to him in terms of Article 20, bracket 3. This particular information, of course, is being sought under 131(1)(a). I want to fully cooperate with you. I'm prepared to give any statement of account or anything, but I cannot give you something which I don't want to give you. Because, or suppose he insists you, I think more it will happen there when he insists you for a particular statement in a particular manner. You know, not only state books of accounts, ultimately, how will you take away? Because they are in any case information which you have to provide. But suppose he wants to, once he is examining you, he may ask you some very, very difficult questions or very such questions which are about which you are uncomfortable. About your meetings with some people or about your transactions with certain people or transactions of third parties. So maybe where you were present according to his knowledge, and he may try and tell you, why don't you give me this information? Then I think in all fairness, you have a right not to provide him that information. Because I think ultimately, I don't want to propagate non-compliance. Compliance has to be done. You have to actually definitely fully cooperate with the authorities. But cooperation does not mean that you're going to put a knife on your own neck. That nobody will do. So I think with these words, I think we'll go in for it is 1:04. I think we'll again come back after 10 minutes break. We'll meet after 10 minutes. Thank you so much. Huh? Sukanya ji, for just a 10 minutes break, please.
Yes, sir. Sure. We'll take break for 5 to 7 minutes. Yeah. Okay, sir. Participant, you are till then requested to please put the questions if you have any in the question and answer bar. We will try to take as many questions as possible at the end of the seminar.
I think we can start whenever you say.
Okay, sir. Yes, definitely we can start.
I think I'll stop my video so that everybody can see much more full screen. I think somebody who was raising some hand. I think question answers we can take at the end, or maybe I think most probably I will take at the end. There's some question
Yeah,
answers.
sir.
I think
Anything which is comfortable for you. We have received till now 6 questions.
yes, yes. I think you can raise one by one towards the end of
Okay.
the session, and I'll respond to all of
Yeah,
them. Huh?
definitely,
And I
definitely.
see there are some
Will do.
chats also that also you can possibly look at those chats. Whether there is some chat which is
Definitely, sir.
worth responding, we'll be definitely be
Yes,
happy to respond to them immediately. So
absolutely.
are you able
Yeah.
to see the full screen now?
Yes, yes, yes.
So I think we'll go to the next. Mhm. How it is going to go to the next. Just a minute. It is not going to the next. Yeah, now it has started moving. Yeah. Now, how to respond to notices received under section 131(1)(a)? Normally, 131(1)(a) notice will tell you to be, normally the standard notice which I'm going to show to you also, he'll request you to be personally present, either yourself or through authorized representative, or send the information, I think, and or there are all kind of things which are written on there. So, but in sometimes the assessing officer may delete the portion of sending information, and he may ask you to appear in person only. That, of course, is his choice. If the assessee is asked to appear or to be present physically, then the assessee must make sure to do so and must appear as per the time and date mentioned in the notice. That is the requirement. The assessee must submit all the documents needed to be produced as per the notice under an oath. So, but I think practically, what we suggest to all of our clients whenever such notices are coming, that normally in the first date, we try and actually either in advance approach the assessing officer, or we approach him on the same date and time when it is given, and request him to actually, if the information is we have been able to compile the information, if he has written the information, then we are able to we carry the information and give the information to him, and request him in case he actually are looking for the SSC, actually physically, then only it is required. Otherwise, normally most of the assessing officers are fine with the presence of the authorized representative, because 50% of the pressure of the SSC will go when he is not required to be present personally. And I think it is in your interest as well as in the interest of the SSC to actually not to send the SSC at least in the first hearing, and maybe understand from the officer as to why a particular notice has come, in what background he's asking these questions, because all those things he will not write into the notice. But I think once you go and meet him and give him some information, then it is possible, if he wants, he can actually disclose to you either partly. But in any case, once you talk to him, at least some idea you will get as to in why he is actually seeking this information. Then accordingly, you can do homework and take some time from him, take a week's time or 2 weeks time. And then according to information, the size of information which he's asking, understand the information also what he's looking for from you. And accordingly, after preparation, either send the, either go personally as authorized representative, or send the information, then request him to understand from him whether he need any additional information. And then maybe if necessary, there can be a personal meeting. Because in a large number of cases, it is possible that in response to section 131(1) notice, in case you have sent in a reply properly, statement has been prepared, details have been prepared, proper supporting has been given, page numbering, annexure, all that, whatever I told you. In case the reply is good, then he is not looking for anything else except the reply. But it is only in few cases when he wants to actually physically examine the assessing officer, or he wants to ask some questions based on the information which you are given. Then sometimes he may write to you, or he can ask you that give me additional information like this, or he can ask you to be personally present. But there could be some very, very severe cases wherever they have some detailed information of something which is very crucial. and where they want actually not a routine information, but they definitely want detailed information from the SSC, then they may insist on physical presence. Once they insist on physical presence, then I think one has to be very careful. Normally based on our experience, the officer concerned is going to tell you that he will not allow the authorized representative when he is actually recording a statement. Although strictly speaking, as per the judgment of the Honorable Supreme Court, in several cases, even when a statement is getting recorded before Enforcement Directorate or before CBI, the assessing of the authorized representative, a lawyer, can always be present in the room. Or sometimes, if they don't actually, what the some guidance which Honorable Supreme Court has given, when the examination is such that he don't want the authorized representative even in the room, then he has to make the authorized representative sit at a place where he can see the SSE, see the concerned person to whom notice has been given. Because in certain cases, the SSCs may, of course, in the income tax, there is no such problem. But whenever we appear ourselves before CBI or Enforcement Directorate or Department of Revenue Intelligence, I think in all these departments, or in Serious Fraud Investigation Office also, in all these departments, the person who is being invited, he is always under, a big threat that physical force may be used against him, or maybe he may be beaten, whether it is permitted or not, but he is definitely under that impression. And in any case, we have seen that whenever the authorized representative is not there, all kind of tricks are being actually used by the officers concerned. They will actually shout at the SSC. They will dhamkana kya kehte hain, they will threaten the SSC that we'll do this, we'll do that. All kind of tricks they will actually utilize. And if you want to actually avoid that problem, it is necessary for you to, I think in my track record, whenever there is a crucial case, at least I have been able to actually force the assessing officer concerned that we are ready to get the statement recorded, but we are sitting behind at a distance, and you please take his statement, whatever you want to ask him, we will not interfere. And in case he need any help and support of any paper, etc., that we will arrange from outside information so that he can give it to you. But we will not interfere, but at least let us be there in the room. And sometimes when the assessing officer try to actually go beyond his decorum of, when he starts threatening him, or whenever he use unparliamentary language, or whenever, there is a pressure which is unnecessary pressure which is created on the SSC. In that case, as a authorized representative, we have been able to actually interfere and tell the officer concerned it is not appropriate for you to actually deal with our SSC like this, and you can only take his whatever you are going to ask. He's answering you. Take his answers, but you cannot actually oppress him. You can't force him for giving an answer in a particular manner. Sometimes they may ask you very, very difficult questions, very, very, you can say, leading questions. You might have seen some courts, this witness is being examined. So there are some questions which are leading questions. There are some questions where they will ask you to say yes or no. And you can't say yes or no to every question. Because for this, of course, I don't have to explain. I think this is because I have many things to talk to you. Otherwise, there are stories about this in the courts. But anyway, what I'm trying to really say is that suppose the assessing officer is very stubborn and he don't allow you inside. Then in any case, the assessing, you have to have a detailed session before you visit with the SSC, explain him what he's supposed to do, what he's not supposed to do, and tell him that he is going to shout at you. He may be even, harass you, but you don't have to really budge an inch. And sometimes, a technique which is being used by the officers, which you need to actually educate your people, is that they will try and delay. That means they will ask the person concerned to keep on sitting, and they will invite you for a statement in the evening at about 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. or 8 p.m. or 10 p.m. because you are there from 11 o'clock this morning, and just to create pressure on the SSC concerned or that witness concerned, they will try and create that pressure by keeping them long sitting. They may invite you at 12 o'clock in the night, And by that time, the SSC is really fully gone. Mentally, he's in a pressure. So that is why it is very necessary that you always accompany the SSC, because till the time SSC is outside waiting, in any case, you can be with him, and he should be mentally prepared that he can be asked to wait for long period. And you can tell him कि रात के 2 भी बज सकते हैं. So you be ready. There's no problem at all. That all he's going to do only to create pressure on you. And various kinds of documents, etc. He may show to the SSC, just like that during the interrogation process itself. So I think you tell your SSC that he is not supposed to reply just like that, or to any question. He can always request the assessing officer to modify his questions. That this is a leading question, sir. I can't answer this question, yes or no, and this part I am not aware, or this is not relevant to me. This is irrelevant to me. I think like that it is not easy, but I think it is important to train the SSCs and also to train ourselves. Now there is one more very important thing. Whenever suppose you are not present, the SSC goes or any other witness goes and gives a statement under section 131 1A or under section 131, when the assessment is going on, in all those cases, we actually, this is a practical part of it, which I think we have learned during our early days when enforcement directorate used to be very tough. Of course, they are still tough, but they used to be very, very tough at that time when they were part of FERA. In FERA days, they were very tough because they had very, very wide powers in FERA. Like in PMLA, now they have very, very wide powers. So whenever in a interrogation like PMLA or FERA of that time or under Department of Intelligence, your people are going to be asked. Similar sections are there, 131, 131A, in which they are going to issue summons. So they are going to, really create a very tough scene. And they will not give you copies of the statement which is recorded. You will not know after the statement is recorded what the SSC has said. He said, मेरे को तो याद नहीं क्या लिखाया था उन्होंने, क्या क्वेश्चन था, क्या आंसर था, मैं तो भूल गया. And even if he remembers, he will not be able to give you more than 50% on the same day, and not more than 25% if one day more elapsed. So for this purpose, I'm going to actually share with you a practical technique that whenever your SSC or you are supposed to give any statement before any officer, before any authority, a statement is getting recorded. You should always carry some blank rough papers with you. They are rough only for the purpose of telling them. You can write them rough papers. You can tell them these are, he may ask you what is this, you can tell them these are some rough papers for my noting. Once you start asking questions, normally these days they record that question in front of you on the screen. So you can write down that in front of you on that paper which you are carrying. He may ask you that, what are you doing? You can tell him that I am only trying to understand this question so that I can answer you correctly. And then you can write your answer very carefully. Wherever you write and you are not happy with your own answer, you can cut it and recorrect it. And once you have come to final conclusion that this is what is you are ready to give, or your SSC is ready to give, then the SSC should write that answer on his sheet, and then he can actually read out. So sometimes the officers may say that, why are you doing so? You can tell them, sir, this English is not my mother tongue. I don't, and or even if suppose I am not able to understand this question, I want to understand, because I am not able to understand this. So that's why I'm writing, trying to understand, so that I don't give you wrong answer. That's why I'm also trying to, formulate my answer. Ultimately, my purpose is to give you correct answer, free and fair inquiry. That is what he's doing ultimately. And when you make such kind of a thing, I think even in those early days of FERA, before Enforcement Directorate or before CBI, I think in all such cases, it has been possible for us to keep copies of our own statement. So I think if we are about 143 people participants here, if you are able to actually understand this, then the future course of action can be decided appropriately after studying what kind of statement he has given, what kind of promises which he has given during the statement of providing more information, or what are the leading questions which he has asked, and in which direction he is trying to take this investigation. All that become more clear. I think same guidance you can give even to people when there is a 132 search in their premises. Whenever there is a search also, in those cases also, or whenever there is a survey also, if the statement is getting recorded, in that case, you should definitely tell your clients that they should record their own statement before they dictate it to the officer. And no officer will be able to say no to you. It is only, you don't need to say, no, no, I want to keep a copy. Never say that I want to keep a copy. You are only trying to help the judicial system by writing your question and writing your answer so that your answers are correct. Question you're writing so that you can understand the question. And any question, any portion which you think is not appropriate, you can even study the question carefully and can request him, sir, this portion is relevant. Can you reword this question like this? And you can possibly move thereafter appropriately. You don't have to tell your exact reasons, but I think you can always request him. So this question is not coming clear. Can you really word it like this? Does it mean like this? Something like that. And I think this has helped us in past. So I think this part of the practical part is very, very important for each one of us to actually understand. You have to seek written adjournment in case of non-submission of or represent through AR. You can always write to them. In case of genuine hardship, to present on the date as per the notice, the SSE may communicate the same to the officer, seeking time and taking permission to produce himself before the office at a later date. Extension may be granted for valid reasons. Extension will be invariably granted. Maybe granted is the wrong word. Unless heavens are falling for him, he will give you, if it is something very serious, he'll give you not more than 1 or 2 days adjournment. But in case he is comfortable, then he may give you a week, 10 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks also. Or in case he's seeking huge size of information, but then in any case he'll give you time. If there's someone permits the SSE to be represented by an authorized representative, which in most of the cases they will, the AR should be present to present the SSE's case with a proper power attorney. Power attorney जरूरी है sir. Power attorney properly execute करके साथ में ले जाइए stamp paper पर and give it to them. In case you are a lawyer, then of course power attorney not needed. Only wakalatnama is enough. Even if SSE is mandated to appear in person to make submissions under oath, AR may accompany the SSE and be present during the proceeding. That is what I just explained to you. Of course, it will be objected. You don't have to create a tug of war on this war on this issue. In case suppose he insists, no, no, under any circumstance, I'm not going to allow you. Then I think if the case is very serious, you can seek an adjournment and then possibly go to the court and take an order from the court for AR to be accompanied. And normally courts will give such kind of orders when you in favor of lawyers very, very easily. At least there you can always commit there that, sir, I'm not going to interfere. I'll be only present there so that my SSE is not harassed and he is not forced to give answers in a particular manner. Because sometimes, the assessing officer can force you to write in a particular manner. So you accept, no, you have done this. You accept that this money has been saved by you, or you accept that cash has been given by you. Like that, they will try and really put pressure on the SSE. So I think that's why presence of authorized representative is necessary. Sometimes even our authorized representative also come into, you can say, pressure. So this message very loud and clear I want to give to all chartered accountant brothers. We need to learn from lawyers. Lawyers as a community, because this is the job of lawyer only we are doing. So let us learn from lawyers. Lawyers don't budge an inch. And in case, the assessing officer for any circumstance is trying to really go beyond his decorum, you can tell him, sir, this case you keep at one side. Let us talk as AR and officer now. We are not talking about this case. We will not permit you to really go beyond the decorum. And you have to actually act like a proper officer. I am here to come and assist you. And in case you're going to misbehave, I'm going to report to my association. And my association is actually going to take necessary action against you. Please don't force me to do that. This kind of wording is to be used only in rare circumstances. But sometimes officers are like this. In many of my own last 42, 43 years career, I think there has been only 10, 15 such, I think 10 to 12 such incidents where I had to tell officer very, very, you can say hard words, that in case you actually do not deal with this case properly in a judicial manner, I'm going to complain against you. And I think it worked. It worked thereafter. I remember we went to a commissioner of service tax long ago, not very far away. He was asking huge information from my SSCs. And the information was such that actually one full truckload for one single SSC. And I think I had about 10, 12 of them who I was supposed to represent. And I think I went with the SSCs and I told them that, yes, sir, we have come, but I think you are asking too much information. He kept on insisting, no, no, you have to give information. I can't really exempt anything. You have to give everything. So we understood that this man, although he is at commissioner level, first of all, he gave appointment with great difficulty because his junior officer was issuing these summons. But we went to the main chief commissioner, not only commissioner, we went to the chief commissioner. And this chief commissioner, I'll not name him because this fellow was later on, action was taken against him by some other people. And he was not budging an inch. He was not ready to even listen. He said, no, no, you have to give information. My officers have full authority to seek information. And you guys are not giving information. We are following up for last 3 weeks. If you don't do this, I'll take action like this. So once he starts using that kind of a language and he was being unreasonable, we had to tell him that, it is not improper, it is improper on your part. And whatever information you're asking, most of it is beyond your legal requirement. And in case you don't listen to us, we are going to complain against you personally. And we are straight away going to CBI in this regard, and we're going to complain against you. As soon as I only use these words, and as soon as we use these words of CBI, this man, definitely it was a caucus being created by him and his people. This man became suddenly, from a top, he becomes like a flower. And he said, no, 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 Jain sahab, aap to naraj ho gaye. And I think thereafter, he not only listened to us, but also cancelled all those notices which was issued. The 100% notices, there are about 135 notices issued by his commissionerate. All 135 notices were cancelled because he had no reason. He was just to harass. And, his junior officer was asking for something which none of the SSCs was ready to give because all the SSCs were there. They were all on the right side of the law and they never wanted to mobilize anybody. So I think there could be circumstances. I'll not go and spend more time on this, what kind of circumstance. But in any case, I think we have discussed this part. How to view notices under section 133.6, whether your SSC has received. I think 133.6 notices will not come to you physically. That even 131.1a notices most of the time will come you physically also to your SSC. But 133.6 invariably will be issued only through the portal. And once they are issued through the portal, I think this is the portal first page where you will go to compliance portal. And so from compliance portal, you will go to e-verification. Then you will proceed and then we'll go to e-verification. But from e-verification, if you see there, it will show you that this is a particular notice, for example, is open in your case. This is only a sample case which is there. In the sample case, when we see that there has been 2 notices, one is 6th December notice, another 16th December notice. That 16th December notice is submitted, but 6th December notice is still showing the due date was 13th December, but it's still pending. And it is asking you to submit. Once you have to submit this, then of course you have to make it ready and have a submit button and then proceed to submit. So this is now has become very simple for you to keep track of every single SSC. You have to only have his login ID and password and appropriately look into what are the notices which are pending against him so that they can be handled. And similarly, 131A, 1A also, the response can be also uploaded into the system or it can be emailed, whatever the officer is comfortable. In most of the cases, 131.1A, you might have to email. The response to notice under 133.6 can only be submitted through online mode on the compliance portal. No physical appearance before the officer under provisions of this section. If the SSC is not able to gather the information within a stipulated time or is facing any other genuine hardship in submitting the response on time, the SSC may file an adjournment seeking time from the officer. The officer may grant time based on valid reason. The SSC must produce the documents as required by the officer within stipulated time. Now, I think, gentlemen, if we have covered the legal part of it, now we are going to actually see some case studies. And then I think I'll see one case study, then I'll talk about the black money law, and then we'll see some more case studies also. One by one, we'll go through this. So I think we have sufficient time, not too much time, with the 7:40 already. So you can see the face of the notice. It is said you are hereby requested to attend my office at such and such place to give evidence and or produce either personally or through an authorized representative. So this is generally the system. And sometimes they will by hand delete these portions if they don't want you to be sending the information or presenting personally. I think whatever they want, they will really do. Now, for example, in this particular case, the kind of information which is being asked is, please furnish copy of bank statement along with ledger narration of each transaction above rupees 1 lakh. Of this particular case is a case of a payment aggregator. The notice which we received is in case of a payment aggregator, and this man will have at least 2,000-3,000 transactions every day, and above rupees 1 lakh also will be at least maybe 500 to 1,500 transactions every day. So now this man wants bank statement along with ledger narration of each transaction above rupees 1 lakh of all accounts maintained by us. So the SSC was maintaining, of course, very large number of accounts in various parts of the country. So he needs information from 1/4/2016 till date. Further furnish accounting nature of each transaction with supporting ledger account. Then he's asking how you have calculated your turnover. Please explain with reference to assessment at 2019-20. Then it's asking, of course, ownership, etc. He is asking TDS, TCS detail from 17-18 to 2020-23. And of course, specific detail of specific parties A to J was listed by him. That you give details of transactions with these parties also for last 6-7 years. Details of unsecured loans raised by you during the period from 1/4/2016 till date. It is very, very wide information which is asking. So what was our alternative? As I told you, we went to the officer in one meeting. Of course, it could not happen. And meeting, after 3-4 meetings, we could come to some conclusion that he initially said, you give me 3 months sample. He said 3 months is too much, sir. Then he said, okay, you give me 1 month sample. He said 1 month is also too much, sir. This is the information. We showed him size for a single day transaction, which we took along with us. Then I think ultimately he agreed for 3 days. And he selected 3 specific days. And I think we have then given him information about 3 specific days within that year. In some bank accounts, he gave different dates. In some bank account, he gave different dates. And accordingly, I think we could really sort out this matter. And ledger also, the entire ledger we could not have given. Then we requested him to select which particular ledgers he is looking. And that also we requested him that you can look at the bank statement and whichever particular ledger you want, you can mark it and we'll provide. And accordingly, we are moving. Actually, this is of course going on since November 2022. It is still going on, sir. Because you see further thing, details of sundry debtors, advances, substantiate expenses over rupees 5 lakhs, furnish details of all payments which have been made to in contravention of 48(3), details all payment expenses made. You see such a long list because this is a very large SSC, and larger the SSC, larger the details, because they have apprehensions on this SSC because of his growth. The startup, but it has grown very fast and very big. So I think that's how this apprehension is there. So I think this part we have discussed more. Personal deposition was required as well as to produce. This part I've already explained to you that how to respond and what we have done. This is for this particular notice. I think I already said. We also requested him to give us a specific format in which the data is required, so that for a specific year, hence understanding the purpose behind the issuance of the notice. It helped us in further drafting our reply. So I think this is how that you can just read this. The main purpose of the issuance of notice in this case was to understand the business model of the SSC and the reason behind a large amount of credits and large amount of debits. Because this the payment aggregator means he was collecting money from the customers of his customers. On behalf of the customers, they were collecting. Suppose you're an e-commerce site and you're selling goods to your customers, then I think your customer will pay to this payment aggregator, and payment aggregator will pay to the e-commerce site. The e-commerce site will pay to the ultimate beneficiary, I think, or maybe direct them to make payment to the ultimate beneficiary, ultimate seller. I think there were all kind of cases. Similarly, payments were being made from those balances which are available with the payment aggregator, or purchases, etc., based on the instructions received from the clients concerned. I think all those things are there, a very voluminous thing. Now, I think, sir, before we take other aspects, I like to briefly touch upon the black money law. Only the relevant aspect with reference to why the notices are coming in case of non-residents who are Indian citizens and not ordinary residents who are or Indian citizens. Also, notices are coming in case of non-residents, no, in case of residents who are foreign citizens, because of the information which is coming from outside India, and they want to really see whether there's any black money which is outside India or not. Now, of course, this is Act, of course, this is a Section 1. It was, of course, first day of July 2015 started. We are aware that this law, of course, was introduced from 1/4/2016, but by an executive order, this has been preponed to 1st July 2015. So Act has come into force from 1st day of July 2015. Now, I think initially the SSC, as was originally drafted, it was only including persons who are resident in India. But later on, they amended the definition, added also non-resident as well as not ordinary resident in India within the meaning of Income Tax Act, who was resident in India either in the previous to which the income referred to in Section 4 relates, or the previous in which the undisclosed asset located outside India was acquired. So when the period when the asset was acquired, if you have been a resident or a ordinary resident outside India, it is required. Then in those cases, in case who was a resident, I think in case you are a non-resident now, or you are not only resident now, but you were resident at that time when the asset was acquired, or when the income was earned actually. Now, undisclosed assets located outside India also we need to understand. What is undisclosed asset as defined by the law located outside India? You know, in case the SSC is holding in his name, or if he is not holding his name, he is a beneficial owner of certain assets for which he has no explanation about the source of investment. In that case, it becomes an undisclosed assets located outside India. So what the law requires is that there is a SSC who is holding some assets outside India. The assets are located outside India, including financial interest in any entity, for example, shares or shareholding or other things, held by the SSC in his name, either in his own name, or he is a beneficial owner. Suppose the assets are held by a trust or assets are held by a third party, but the SSC is beneficial owner. In those cases, the SSC need become responsible to answer. And once a question is raised, he has no explanation about the source of investment in such assets, or explanation given by him is, in the opinion of the assessing officer, unsatisfactory. So I think, suppose the assessing officer is wanting to really understand from you that whether a particular asset actually belongs to you, whether you are a beneficial owner of that asset, or whether you have some explanation to offer about source of investment. So before going to take stiff action under black money law, he's going to give you an opportunity under Section 131(1)(a), issue a notice and tell you that such and such asset we understand is actually owned by you, or such and such asset is there. It is owned by whom? Are you aware? He can ask you directly, indirectly, in any manner the questions, because depending on what is the nature of your relationship with them and what information they are having, accordingly they are going to ask you a question. They may even ask you what are the foreign entities in which you have financial interest. They can even ask you. I'm just going to show you, there has been a notice received by one of our clients, and in case you have no explanation to offer, or your explanation given by you, I think it is written, given by you in the opinion of the assessing officer, is unsatisfactory. In all such cases, it may be termed as undisclosed assets located outside India. So I think whenever you are responding to a notice in respect of assets outside India, located outside India, you and your client has to be extra careful, because please be informed that whatever you know, a part of that is in the knowledge of the assessing officer, or maybe the notice of the department. That is how this questionnaire has come to you. Or sometimes they may not know anything in detail, but they have some apprehension. When I said they have they don't have reason to believe. They have a suspicion that there is some income which has escaped assessment, which or where you are right. Initially what we said. So they may have an apprehension that the assets located outside India, you have no explanation to offer. And what is the source of investment, you will not be able to do it. If they have that apprehension based on their own examination, then only they really approach you. Sometimes they approach you based on the information they get. Suppose there is a large bank account, there is a bank account, there are bank accounts, there with their operations, there is the interest amount, there are large operations, or there are material of the operations, or you being a resident, you fail to even disclose those bank accounts in your income tax returns. In all those cases, they are going to really have a reason why they should really seek an explanation from you about source of those investment in those bank accounts or in those assets. Now, undisclosed foreign income and asset is also defined in section 2, subsection 12 of the black money law. It says undisclosed foreign income and asset means the total amount of undisclosed income and SSC from a source located outside India. That means this income is from a source located outside India. So undisclosed foreign income is not coming from source located in India, but this is from a source located outside India. I think that is what is covered in subsection 2. So from both sides, they are trying to really cover. One is undisclosed assets located outside India. Another is undisclosed foreign income and asset created out of such income outside India. I think that is what they are really coming. Now, charge of tax. Under the black money law, I'm only briefly covering the black money law because time is very short. It is already only 7-8 minutes we have. There will be charge on every SSC for every assessment year commencing from 1st April 2016 onwards in respect of his total undisclosed foreign income and assets of the previous year at the rate of 30% of such undisclosed income and asset. Provide that an undisclosed asset located outside India shall be charged to tax on its value. So there are two kinds of things. One is 30% of the income and asset created of this. They are charging 30%. In case they come to know that there are assets which are outside India, which they come to know, it has come to the notice of the assessing officer, and where you are not able to offer an explanation, then of course he will be able to levy on the fair value of such asset a tax equivalent to 30%. For the purpose of this section, the value of undisclosed asset means the fair market value of an asset determined in such manner as may prescribe. Now, scope of total undisclosed foreign income. What all is covered? You have income from source located outside India, which you have not disclosed in the return of income within time, which is prescribed under section 139, or you have not filed any return of income under section 139, and the value of an undisclosed asset located outside India this value has not been actually disclosed appropriately in the return. Notwithstanding anything contained in subsection 1, any variation made in income from a sources outside India. Suppose you have already disclosed a source from outside India, and during the assessment or reassessment proceedings, in terms of section 29 to section 43C, your business income is getting assessed. Your business income from outside India, business is there outside India. You have duly disclosed that source also, that is how you are earning money. You are disclosed say 50 lakhs, but assessing officer, when he goes into the detail, he realized no, it is not 50 lakhs, it should be 75 lakhs, or it should be 5 crores. Then this does not become subject to black money law. They say it will not be included in the total undisclosed foreign income because it is a assessment difference, and this will be normally be dealt with under the normal provisions of the income tax law. Similarly, under section 57, in respect of income from other sources, 57 to 59, or for transfer pricing provisions of under section 92C, there is any variation which is done, then that will not be considered as being subject to the black money law. It will be dealt with the normal provision of the income tax law. Income included in the total undisclosed foreign income and assets under this act shall not form part of the total income under the income tax act. Suppose the particular income is taxed into the black money law, then it will not be again taxed under the income tax law. Then they will not tax it under the income tax law. Then how this computation etc. is also to be done in case of undisclosed foreign income and undisclosed foreign assets. No deduction of an expenditure allowance or set off of any loss shall be allowed. Although income computation in normal course business income will be computed, but if there are any allowances or set off of any losses, that will not be allowed to you. Any income which has been assessed, to tax for any assessment year under the Income Tax Act prior to the assessment year to which this act applies, or which is assessable or has been assessed to tax for any assessment year under this act, shall be reduced from the value of undisclosed assets. So if it has been assessed earlier, or which is assessable or assessable under the assessment under this act, then that will also be reduced from the value of the undisclosed assets located outside India. Because once you are taking tax as foreign income, then again you will not, of course, tax as undisclosed foreign asset. And suppose the source itself is from known sources, it has already been taxed in India. In that case also, it is not going to get included. Then in any case, you can satisfy yourself. Section 5. The amount of deduction referred to in subsection 2, clause 2 of subsection 1, in case of an immovable property shall be the amount. I think this part is very important. Suppose there is an immovable property found as an asset outside India. Then suppose this immovable property was bought for about 2 lakhs and you are able to explain to the income tax officer only 1 lakh. But now the property value is 20 crores. So if you have bought it for 10 lakhs and 20 lakhs is the value at which you purchased, but you actually disclosed on, you are able to explain only 10 lakhs, that is 50%. So fair value of the immovable property will also be, you will be given benefit of 50% of the fair value. It is only on the balance 50% they are going to really charge you tax in terms of the black money law. These are certain penalties for failure to furnish return, where we are required to return up to 10 lakh rupees. And then, of course, fail to furnish any information, furnish inaccurate particulars, again 10 lakh rupees. These are there. Now, I think we are going to take some quickly 1 or 2 more case studies. I don't know whether we have time. We have time. Some time we have. So this is a notice under section 133(6). So they have given some information to the SSE that they have this information available with them. And then they are saying, with regard to the kindly furnish information as per annexure 1. Now you see what annexure 1 is saying. They have given some information which is available with them. Now they are asking, detailed note on your business activities, source of income, furnish detailed computation of income, details of all bank accounts, reconcile the interest received as per the above information with the interest admitted in the income tax return. If not offered in the return, explain the reason why you did not offer. Furnish the detail of all fixed deposits which you are holding. Like that, all these details they are asking. So they have gathered some information and they feel that there is a variation with the income tax return. So I think SSE has been requested to explain the how it is reconciled. So if you are able to reply to this properly, based on facts and figures, based on a bank statement, based on certificate from the bank, I think about your fixed deposit which you are holding, and about the interest also, you can obtain a certificate from the bank and appropriately reconcile with the return of income, and the reconciliation are able to present. Because in a large number of cases we have found that the information which is being provided by the tax department is sometimes not accurate, many times not accurate, and they may duplicate the information. They'll collect information from 26AS also, from AIs also, from different sources, and then same information is given to you twice, thrice, and they may it is possible that the one-time income you have already shown, but they are showing it 3 times. Like that, I think these kind of errors are there. I think this part I already explained to you, because time is short. 131A, one and more notice we are going to cover. This is a case of a SSE who is actually, you can see it has come from the investigation department. This is addressed to a person who is a Indian citizen, but currently resident outside India for last several years. You see, this kind of a roving inquiry they are doing. Please furnish details of business income, economic activities carried out in India and outside India from, you see, financial year 2011-12 till date he is asking. Furnish details of entities in which you are director, partner, shareholder, or associates, otherwise from 2011-12 till date. Please furnish details of number of days spent in India from 2011-12 till date, and establish your residency, non-residency status as per the Income Tax Act. Please furnish copies of all pages of passport held by you from 2011-12 till date. You know, he is asking for long years data about your residential status. So in this particular case, we could establish based on data which was available with us to him that the SSC is a non-resident since 2015-16, and we have also brought to his notice that the SSC has been filing his return as a non-resident, and he is also regularly furnishing his return of income as far as all his businesses in India and his income in India, and he's regularly all those entities are also getting assessed regularly, and there's no reason for him to ask for the information of 2011-12 till date. And I think we could really tell him that there's no since he's a non-resident, all these information in respect of international entities he is not supposed to disclose to Indian authorities, and accordingly, I think this matter could be closed. Of course, there were some supplementary questions also which came after our initial reply, but I think those questions we could really address, and that matter stand closed actually. I've already explained to you such notices are being issued based on information received from other countries. Various financial transactions, bank balances, property acquisitions, and other similar transactions in respective countries by Indian citizens living outside India and being non-resident, Indian citizens living in India being residents or resident, not ordinary resident, normally cross-checked with disclosures of foreign bank accounts and other assets and foreign income disclosed in income tax reports, returns. Foreign citizens living in India and being resident, normally cross-checked with disclosure of foreign bank accounts and other assets, because a very large number of foreign citizens who come to India, I think this point you can really take care of all clients who are expatriates which are working with your clients. You can really touch upon them, because there are very large number of people who received such notices. So these are foreign citizens. They are living in India for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and they are resident in India, but they are not disclosing their foreign income or foreign assets in the income tax returns. So because of which notices are being received. In case the SSC is filing return of income in India more than 50 lakhs, the asset disclosed and the information received may also be cross-checked by the officers. In case of the SSC being ultimate beneficial owner of trust outside India, this is explained. A detailed examination from concerned UBO, settler, donor, trustee may be sought. UBO means ultimate beneficial owner of more than 25% or 10% beneficial interest on control. This percentage actually vary from country to country. For example, in Singapore, we see 25% is the benchmark. In India, 10% is the benchmark. So of the disclosure, but whatever is the benchmark, once you are disclosed as a ultimate beneficial owner in a country outside India, and that bank concerned disclose that information in exchange of information to Indian authorities, they are going to ask you a question that you are maintaining a bank account like this, which you have not disclosed your income tax return, and what is your relationship, what is the amount, give us all the details, give us statement of account, etc. If you are an Indian resident. If you are a foreign resident, then of course you can refuse to give, but you have to give information about your basis, that how you are a non-resident. Now there is one more, I think the last one, of course, which I am going to really show to you. In this case, for example, this is also in case of a resident foreign citizen, that they are asking you that you are maintaining bank account. They even gave account numbers with the Australia Bank, and they are giving details, various banks and Commonwealth Bank and Commonwealth, various numbers they are given, United Overseas Bank, Singapore also. This man is having bank accounts, but he is a resident in India, although a foreign citizen. He has come for employment in India. I think even then, I think he faced this inquiry. And you see, like this particular case, if you see, the kind of information which is being asked about service providers, entities located outside India, wherever you have an offshore entity, I think all these kind of questions will come to you, which will differ from case to case basis, and one has to actually very, very carefully answer. In a very large number of cases, you are actually not required to answer most of the information, but you have to actually study the law, study the case of the concerned client, and take a very conscious decision what legally you are definitely required to give. And I think out of 7-8 items, I think residential status is one portion. Your disclosure which you have made is another area. I think appropriately you need to actually definitely take care of the situation, so that your SSCs are not actually harassed by the tax department. And in any case, I think anybody who is having businesses outside India or assets outside India or international operations, I think it is very important if they're residents, they should actually disclose in their balance sheets and income tax returns and in the appropriately as it is really required, so that these kind of problems do not really crop. Because once a investigation starts, it can go up to any limit actually. Thank you very much. Thanks for giving me such a patient hearing. And I think still about 123 of you are here connected to this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a
Sir,
lot.
thank you.
Thanks a lot for
Yes,
your
Rajesh sir,
elaborated.
please go on.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks a lot, sir. Even I am interested to listen each word of yours. So elaboratedly discussed the important sections of income tax. I request Madam to please give a formal vote of thanks.
Yes, sir. Before going for the vote of thanks, if we can get some question answers, because we have received 9 questions. So, Vinod sir, if you are okay, we can go ahead with the question answers.
I'm okay. There's no problem because we promised that we'll be doing it at the end. We can't really run away
Hi.
without answering. No question.
Yes,
Please
yes,
ask.
yes. So there is a question. First question is any amount criteria to concealment for initiation?
Concealment initiation. I don't think there is any
Hmm.
amount criteria. Amount has to be material actually. Normally for small things, they will not issue notices of 131 1A or 131 notices. It is only when they feel that there is a material non-compliance, only then they will do. There is no criteria really amount. You can't say up to this amount, they will not ask any questions. There's nothing like this. Sometimes a small amount may lead to very large implications. The amount concerned may be only few thousands, but behind that there might be some huge transaction in which they are interested actually, which may relate to some other party, but I think it is instigating from your side. Your remuneration might be smaller. They might be looking to you to understand affairs of others. Sometimes they look to you for understanding your own affairs. So you have to see it very carefully.
Okay, sir. Next question is again from Hitesh Kumar Jain. How income escape is different from income concealment?
You see, income escapement is a word which is used by sections like, for example, 271 1C, etc. Once you conceal income, it is bound to it is bound to escape assessment in case it is not brought to light. But suppose you concealed an income,
Right.
you did not show a particular income, and you at the time of filing of return of income, by that time you already received a notice under section 133(6) or maybe 131 1A, which gives you indication that there could be a trouble, and you may in the coming return you may disclose this. So income will not escape assessment. You might have concealed so far, but you have not. But ultimately, they're looking for what you have concealed in past. And normally present transactions also, like last year transactions also, if there are property transactions or others, it is possible capital gain is in a huge number of areas. Very large number of notices came for property transactions in last 1 year. Whereof because large number of people did not show very huge capital gain in their income tax returns. Even several crores of capital gain also was not shown by many people. So they have definitely concealed income. And once they have concealed this income, if this notice would not have come, this would have escaped assessment. And I think section 148 also uses the similar language. So it depends on that. There's no difference. Once it is concealed, it may escape, but it may not escape. Actually, that is what the battle is.
Okay, sir. Noted. And after that, there is one more question related to this income disclosed, but disclosed in different head of income. Whether this can be concealment of income?
No, that of course is that may not really in normal case get an inquiry. It is not concealment of income in any case. That I think in reassessment, was normally such adjustment is done in case of regular assessment. In case of regular assessment, somebody may say no, it cannot be done in as the income from PGBP, profit and gains from business and profession. For example, rental income. We have tried to assess it as income from house property, but actually it is in the nature of business which you are doing. So he may say you assess it under the head profit and gains from business and profession. Then everything gets recomputed appropriately. Your deductions will your standard deduction you will not get, but then it is not concealment actually. It is only classification issue which can always be debatable. It is a matter of litigation between the SSE and the department. But it's not a case of a concealment of income, actually.
Okay, sir. Next question is from Piyush Bafna. Officers are asking for information for past 10 years. Can we say that we don't have past record, say for 7 to 10 years, as even law does prescribe to maintain only for 6 years?
No, I think that is what I said directly, indirectly. You have to convince the officer that you cannot provide information beyond a reasonable period. And in any case, if he don't listen at all, then you have to very clearly tell him that the limitation period is only up to this date. Kindly don't ask us questions for period before that. Initially, you can try and tell him that it is difficult to lay a hand on this such information, etc. I think normally he will also understand. You can ask him that within the limitation period, we are of course ready to give you information. Normally, he will not then over insist on it. That is what is our experience also. Because they will
Okay.
try to take information from the SSCs or the assessing office or the authorized representative who are not very, conversant with the legal provisions, and they will furnish information once asked for. Very large people will tell you, why don't you give, sir? Then sab kya farak padta hai, this. But even if kuch nahi farak padta, even then, give information only what is relevant. Whatever is asking beyond his powers, we should not be giving that information. That is, I am of a firm belief.
Right. Sir, next question is, can we request to lower or waive off additional tax under section 140, 140B when there is no intention of concealment of income?
This question, I have not been able to understand what you're saying.
Can we, I'll just read the question again. Can we request to lower or waive off additional tax under section 140B when there is no intention of concealment of income?
No, I don't think that there is any provision. I don't see any provision for lowering the tax. I don't see any
Okay,
provision.
maybe the question is wrongly written. So the next question is, a pensioner received notice under section 133(6) for bank interest for AY 2020-21, which is a corona period. He accepted the income and paid the tax already before filing updated return. Can he ask for the waiver of additional 50% tax in case of online proceedings?
You see, if you have already paid tax, this is for 21-22, is that right?
Yeah, 2020-21, that is a financial year 1920.
Financial year 1920. So in any case, if he really want to be regularized, then of course he has to go and pay additional tax. But I think if he has paid tax and the income is not very large, if it is only bank interest, I don't think he will get harassed. If he can give information to the assessing officer that appropriate tax has been paid, normally they will not initiate 148 or anything. Because then the only option
Okay.
available with the officer concerned is to actually issue notice to you under section 148. Unless the amounts are large, they will not do it practically. So I think it is a question of actually, giving details that the adequate tax has already been paid.
Okay. So last two questions only. When there is no return is filed, whether it can be initiated with the concealment of income or whether it is considered as a concealment of income.
Now, obviously, once you have an income and you have not filed a return, obviously you are concealing income. No, you have suppose sold a
Yeah.
property worth 4 crores and you bought that property for 1 crore, 3 crore income. You are actually you're not filing even the return. Obviously, you are concealing the income. That is definitely concealment of income. Or kya concealment of it? This is the first thing you're doing. You're not
Right,
even
right.
filing the return. You're concealing. If you are not filing return within the time prescribed under section 139, then obviously you're concealing the income.
Yes. And the last question is whether Benami transactions can be considered as a concealment of income.
You see, in case the officer concerned is able to actually establish that this is Benami transaction. So if that Benami transaction in the name of Mr. X, then in that case, as per the understanding of the Benami law, it is considered as the income of Mr. X. And Mr. X is supposed to pay tax thereon. So that is the income tax position. But in terms of Benami law, the implications are actually very severe, where the penalties are also there, where they can even actually take away your assets itself, which is created out of those Benami assets, whether money or converted into assets, even asset they also can confiscate. I think these are very severe provisions, and the penal provisions of the Benami law are also very harsh. Although Benami law is not retrospectively, it is not applicable. It is applicable prospectively as per the latest Honorable Supreme Court decision. So it is only applicable for a period after 2016 transactions. So transactions before that will not be considered Benami for the purpose of Benami Prohibition Act. So, but in any case, if there is a Benami transaction, the transaction is done in the name of Mr. X. It has to be assessed in the name of Mr. X. As far as Mr. Y is concerned, he will suffer because they will take away the asset itself. And of course, also impose penalty on Mr. A, whose asset it actually was, if they're able to establish that is a Benami. Am I clear?
Sir, we have received one more question from chat box. If the ITR is not filed, and if ITR is not filed, but excuse me, so sorry, sir. If ITR is filed and not e-verified within 30 days, whether it will lead to concealment of income?
I think in those cases, I don't think there is any concealment of income really in strict sense. Although the time limit they had been earlier extending. Now they are not extending the time limit. But in all these cases, in any case, you would have paid tax and interest both within time. And it is only you have even filed a return. So that way, I don't think you can really be punished for concealment of income. You can be punished for non-filing of income tax return, all right. But since tax has been paid already voluntarily by you, there is no interest implication, there is no penalty provisions, in my view.
Okay, sir, we are done with the questions.
So thank you very
sir,
much.
We are done with the questions. We have received all these questions. I hope all the attendees who have raised the question have received the answers. Sir, once again, thank you so much. First of all, let me thank you for taking out your time and explaining us this important topic. Definitely, it is going to help all of us.
And thank you once again. PPTs with the people. I think some people are requesting
people are asking for the PPT also. Definitely. All the attendees, please note that branch will be sharing the PPT with you if sir is okay.
I'm okay. There's no problem. You can share.
Okay, then everybody will get the PPTs on their email.
No, whoever is requesting, you can give it to him. Don't give it to everybody just like this.
Okay, fine.
Anybody who requests only you should give.
Definitely.
Otherwise it has no value. You know, when it comes into the inbox without any effort, it has no value.
Absolutely.
Request people who really want to have a PPT, they should actually write to you that you want to confidentially have a copy of the PPT, and you will not share the information with anybody. It is only for your professional, personal reference. Kindly share with them, no problem.
Absolutely,
so usually we upload the PPT. Hello, good evening, sir. Usually
please don't upload, no, because you know we have seen. I've given you an extract of some actual case studies, actual notices, etc. So I will. This is not a normal PPT. Please appreciate this.
Understood, sir. Understood. Thank you, sir. Yes.
Sure, sir.
The CA concerned should say that he is not going to actually use this for other than his professional understanding and knowledge.
Yes, sir.
Something kind of a confidentiality. Then you can share, no problem.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, no, sir. Thank you so much for being here and giving us the important, guidance. Thank you once again from Pune branch of ICI. And with this, I conclude that the seminar is ended. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you. Namaskar. Sabko namaskar.
नमस्कार सर मिलते हैं फिजिकली मिलते हैं पूना में सर
हाँ जी जरूर मिलेंगे जरूर पूना में मिलेंगे दिल्ली में मिलेंगे
दोनों
बात तो वेस्टर्न इंडियन रीजनल काउंसिल में आ जाओगे जब भी मिलेंगे डोंट वरी
यस सर थैंक यू सर
ओके थैंक यू
सर बाय